Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the Hatsune Miku Secret Lair, which is the third one to be released overall, and the first two have been somewhat mixed in terms of their reception, but have sold quite well due to FOMO, so let's see if this one's any better, and jump into the video. Welcome into the video. Thank you guys so much for being here. Be sure to hit the like button if you do enjoy, and subscribe click the bell icon if you want to be notified when new videos are posted. I very much appreciate each and every one of you guys taking the time. And yes, today we're going to be talking about the Secret Lair Hatsune Miku. This is the third one. Unfortunately, the only graphic I have up to this point is the one you'll see on the screen at the moment. It is kind of blurry, and we're going to go through each card individually, but I want to just show them off at least so people can kind of see what we're working with here. And we're also going to talk briefly on how some of the other Secret Lairs have done so far. Because I think, obviously, Hatsune Miku is really popular. I've said before, I'm not a fan. Doesn't mean I don't like it. I appreciate the art style. It's just not really for me. But they sell out very quickly and have been doing extremely well, so I understand the logistics behind them. And of course, it looks like we have a total of 4, at least that we know of. This will be the third one. And there's a couple of interesting things I want to talk about as far as the bonus cards and stuff. But first, let's just look at the cards themselves. So we've got 5 cards total. We've got Miku Divine Diva, which is Elspeth Tyrell. It is kind of hard to see what that one to the right is. It's something traveling sound, but it is Liliana of the Dark Realms that is the reprint, which is a really good reprint there. We've also got the Royal Scions, something incarnate. Again, I can't tell what that name is because I don't have any better graphics, so work with me on this. And then we've got Kato Mysterious Maestro, perhaps? It's Jace Unraveler of Secrets, and then we've got Miku Voice of Power, which is Freyalise Lanoir's Fury. So the artwork here, pretty cool. I love the Elspeth artwork. It looks awesome. It looks like the way they should have done the Miku artwork for so many of the other cards so far, and of course it's drawn by a Japanese artist, which it says something because the other 4 are not, and you can see a significant difference in quality. To be clear, I'm not insulting any of the artists. My point is that the Japanese artists seem to have a better grasp on how to draw Miku in a way that's reflective of the actual, designs people are used to. But, again, it all comes down to preference. But let's look at the Secret Lairs themselves first in terms of the cards. So, we've got Jace Unraveler of Secrets getting a reprint in here. A pretty damn solid card. Not super expensive, unfortunately, but it's definitely good. And we're going to round up around, we're going to call it $4 here for the value, just because I want to go ahead and get a value as we go along for the overall reprint inclusions in here. So Jace is pretty good. Obviously they're not going to put like one of the big Jaces in here necessarily, but it doesn't have a lot of prints, so it's nice to see it get kind of a reprint here. We do know it will be in Shadows over Innistrad Remastered, which, well, that was in, I'm sorry, that is from Arena, but we do have an Innistrad Remastered actual physical product coming out in early 2025. Probably will be in there as well, but it will have a different artwork, of course. We've got the Elspeth, which again, the artwork on the Miku version of this is awesome. This card is not really worth all that much. It only has a couple prints, but it's like 75 cents. I'm being generous here. We're going to round it up to $1, and just kind of put it down there. Again, decent card. I think they went with all Planeswalkers for this one, which is, an interesting choice, but I get sort of wanting to stick to a theme. I think there's definitely some better Planeswalker choices they could have made so far. We've got Freyalise Lanoir's Fury, another card that's pretty good, but it was reprinted in Commander Masters, and it is not really the hardest card to get. It's about $2, so we're just going to call that 7. Again, another really good card. It's a fun card that can be your commander, so if you're into the, you want to build a deck around Miku or include a lot of the Miku cards, you certainly could play this as a commander, but I think it's probably better in the 99. But overall, decent, kind of not a ton of prints either, but it's been on the list. It was in the Commander Collection and Commander Masters, so there's been a lot of ways to get it, meaning it's, while being a good card, it's not necessarily commanding the biggest value. Liliana, on the other hand, a very, very good card that has actually held some value, which is great for the overall reprint value here. About $18, the cheapest. It was in Bloomborough, and it was in Bloomborough as the Imagined Critters, so in terms of an accessible reprint, it's good, but some people may not like that art style. Maybe you want a regular, Liliana. Although, if you're looking for a more magic-oriented Liliana, I do not think that the Miku one is going to change all that much for you. Great artwork here. It looks really good. It doesn't look nearly as like creepy or AI generated as some of the other ones do, but I do like it kind of for what we're working with. So Liliana of the Dark Realms, a good inclusion, a good card. They actually kind of nailed that one, which is great because unfortunately the Royal Scions, terrible reprint in my opinion. Just overall not a very good card at all. It's like 30 cents. We'll call it 50 cents to be generous. And we're looking at like the overall, you know, composition of cards, and they were looking about $25.50 worth of cards overall. You know, is that great? Not really. Not for a product that's going to cost you like $35 after tax and shipping, or $45 if you get the foil. But it's Hatsune Miku. We've seen the trends for some of this stuff, so I want to talk about that a little bit too. So I have on the screen here a lot of the Hatsune Miku secret lairs, and you'll see that they pretty much all have held, and I apologize, I know it's cut off a little bit, but the way I have the screen formatted, my point in showing this is that a lot of them have done well, and there's a couple that perhaps have not done as great. There's a big graph drop here. These were sealed around 97 and now they're like 27. I know some of the Japanese foil versions of it were definitely a bit more in demand. The rainbow foil edition of the Superstar one is probably the best and the one that's actually trending upwards. But what I'm saying by this is just because it's Hatsune Miku doesn't mean every single one's going to be super expensive, right? We're seeing a few months out now with the FOMO that happens when people go rush and buy these, and then they start to kind of settle out and fall back into a more realistic price point. And I think that's happened, you know, quite a few times here with these. So even this one's, you know, Japanese non-foil. Look at the graph. I mean, these are pre-selling at 125, or not pre-selling, but people were buying them and then listing them, whatever, and now they're 27. That's a drop of over $100 for the secret lair. The reason I mention all of this is to say, don't let yourself get caught up in the FOMO, but also be aware that there are going to be those people who are going to be like, I gotta go buy these so I can resell them. I think there will be a breaking point where if more of these start to drop, as some of these have done so far, you will see people maybe cool off on them a little bit, but it would only take, you know, one that's actually really nice aesthetically, or one that has perhaps a really good promo in it. And that kind of brings me to the other point of this conversation here, is the Snapcaster Mage. So we've talked about this before, and I'm just mentioning it again here. This is like a $750 card right now. It came as a bonus card with some of the first Hatsune Miku secret lairs, but it was very, very scarce. There were not a lot of them. In fact, there's only 6 listings of this card available right now on TCG Player, and no one knows for sure if it was supposed to be a bonus card in there, or if it was, you know, included accidentally, or maybe quote-unquote accidentally as a way to, like, build some hype behind this. But the way that the numbering works on this suggests that it would be the bonus card in the 4th secret lair, because we're at 806, we'll have 807 whenever we find out what the bonus is for this. So just something to keep in mind is that, like, this Snapcaster Mage is probably one of the best Hatsune Miku reskins they've done, while also being attached to an extremely good card that always ends up having value. So if this card does end up being in either this secret lair or the next one as a bonus card, and all signs would point to it being in the winter one, not to mention it's got the blue aesthetic and everything going on, I don't know, and anyone that tells you they know for sure is just not true. The data's not there to suggest it, right? So it's either a really rare bonus card or a super accidental bonus card, but I'm pretty sure even Mana Crypt, which was in the Fallout, not Mana Crypt, sorry, Mana Vault, which was in the Fallout secret lair, I mean, this one has 17 listings, and this was super scarce and hard to find. So the fact that, like, the Snapcaster Mage only has 6 tells me it's not. I personally think it ended up being maybe a planted teaser, if you will, to get people hyped for future products. But if a secret lair does end up having that Snapcaster Mage as a guaranteed bonus, that secret lair is going to sell out immediately, because you're essentially paying $30 to have a guaranteed copy of a card that always ends up not only doing well, but seeing play in multiple formats, and that's just kind of the nature of it. So just something to keep an eye on in terms of the Snapcaster Mage, which again is extremely scarce right now as a bonus card, and we don't know if it's planned to be the bonus for the winter, but the numbers should line up. And if the bonus card that we get for this one is 807, that all but suggests that we will be looking at Snapcaster Mage in the next one. So just sort of a bit of food for thought on that. You know, the actual individual Miku cards, like Soul Ring and stuff, have done relatively well, but even if you look at the graph, I mean, these were going so high and now have dropped over 50%. It's hard to say, because as popular as the character is, I think one of the biggest things kind of holding it back to an extent was the actual artwork, which I think a lot of people did not love. But then here you've got some really, really cool ones on some cards that are playable, and then you've got, some over to the left that I'm just not a fan of that still feel like they're kind of capturing that AI art style. I don't know how to explain it better than that. It's just the facial features. It doesn't feel very anime-esque on those, whereas the ones over to the right feel like they're moving in a bit of a better direction. So I do think that Miku Divine Diva will be one that people will like. It's just, not the best card. It's okay. It's just, I think if you were going to do that, you probably could have picked a different Planeswalker. You could have probably picked a different Elspeth, realistically, to put in there. So that's all to say that in terms of value, like, this is clearly not going to be an immediate plus for you if you're buying this, but I strongly recommend against buying Secret Lairs for profit anyway, because there's so much volatility in the market, even with the up and down that we've seen. I just showed you guys that the first Secret Lair, which got scalped and was selling really hard, is now like $27, except for, the foil edition. So don't go spending like crazy, but also be smart, keep an eye on it. If you really want the cards, I would say try to get it at regular price, but if you don't overpay on the secondary market for this, because I think it's going to follow a very similar trend to the first two, where it starts out really high, and if you can just be patient and wait a little bit, you'll see them start to come down, which we've seen happen to all the other Secret Lairs so far. Because $25 in value of reprint equity is not anything crazy, and it leads me to believe that it's probably going to end up being a $30 product overall for the non-foil. I can't comment too much on the regular foils because it's kind of hard to say, just looking at some of the numbers for what we have here. It's kind of hard to say where that's actually going to end up. Like the Hatsune Miku bundle that had all 4 different variants of the digital sensation, including the Japanese foil and non-foil, that one was selling really high. At one point selling at like $600, and now the bundle's $250. With one as low as $197. So even the foils on this are not holding a crazy amount of value. They might over time, for sure, but my point is, if you wait and you bide your time and you can't get in the queue and get it, you might still have a chance. Don't overpay like crazy, because as popular as these are, I do think there will be opportunities to get them cheaper than, what people are going to be trying to scalp them for right off the bat. Let me know what you guys think overall of this Secret Lair. Like I said, it's neat. I do like a couple of the artworks. I don't think I'll be buying this one personally, but if you're a fan, maybe one you want to grab. Just be careful not to overpay. I hate to see people lose money on that, especially when trends suggest you will be able to get them not overpaying if you just wait a little bit. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.